Hello and welcome to another episode of Toastmasters Unplugged from District 71. Episode 17, in fact. Now, this is a live streaming podcast that introduces our Toastmasters members, gets a chance, or gives us a chance rather, to get to know them a little better, get to know a bit more about what they do and why they do it, and what Toastmasters has done for them, and equally, what they can do for Toastmasters. Hi, I'm Nigel Smith from Birmingham Boring Speakers, and I'll be your host here this evening. And tonight, we're going to explore the subject of empowering youth and shaping futures. Think for a moment, can you just imagine how life would have turned out had you got all of your Toastmaster skills while you're at school? Well, our guest speaker tonight gives that opportunity, and I've seen the results he gets from all of the children that he works with. And let me tell you, the outcomes are remarkable. Now, our speaker tonight is a multi-award winning speaker, a district finalist in the International Speech Contest, no less, and the founder of Magical Mind Coaching, where a combination of physical, mental, and social fitness can transform young people's lives. And he unlocks the potential of children, not just in the UK, but further afield, as far afield as Nepal and India. Now, personally, I've known our speaker tonight for several years. In fact, he was there when I started my Toastmasters journey some 8 years ago. He's a regular then at Warsaw Speakers, and he's also now a driving force in setting up a new club in Wolverhampton. Now, he's inspirational, he's dedicated, and he's an international all-round great guy. He is Jin Atwell. Hi, Jin. How are you doing?
Oh, Nigel. Thank you for inviting me on.
Excellent. Hey, you had a good day today?
Yeah, it's been amazing. So, yeah, just been running my classes with the young people that I teach.
Dodging the showers, I guess, in between.
Yes, definitely.
Excellent. Well, thanks for coming on, Jen. As I said in the intro, I've known you for some time and looked at your journey, which has been fully remarkable. And some of the stories you told in your speeches about how you came from where you were to where you are now is pretty transformational. So maybe just as a bit of an introduction to yourself, why don't you just share with the audience what your life was like before Toastmasters and maybe what led you to that first port of call and walking through the door and, and having your first Toastmasters experience?
Yeah, so like for me, as a child, I really struggled with my communication skills. And I was always classed as a shy child in class, and all my school reports used to always say the same thing. Jin is the quiet one. Jin doesn't really speak in class, but I don't remember any teachers ever supporting me and helping me on that journey. And sometimes I laugh about it. But when I was younger and used to have the nativity plays, and I kind of look back at that time, when it came to a speaking role, I was never given a speaking role because I was so shy, and I'd always be the role of a tree or a sheep within the nativity plays. Yeah. And I remember back to those days, and I was so shy, and that continued with me because nobody really supported me on that journey. And I went through school life, secondary school life, university, very much similar. And the only really experience that you get in public speaking is probably at university, when you just asked to speak in front of a group with no practice, and it's like telling somebody to drive a car with no driving lessons at all, and you're just thrown into it. And it probably makes you more nervous more than anything else and puts you off public speaking. So I was really terrified of it, and that continued with me. And I got my first job. I was working for Npower, the gas and electricity company, and I worked my way up within the company to a senior level. But I was always told in my one-to-one meetings with my manager that I wouldn't progress any further because of my lack of communication skills. They said, you work really hard, you're dedicated, you've got great ideas, but you never share your ideas in meetings. You struggle to do presentations, and you're struggling to build a team around you because of your lack of communication skills.
Yeah.
And again, I was told that, but wasn't told on how I could improve those skills. I was just told that this is the way it is. And that just stayed with me. I did get made redundant from that organization. I was working on the smart meter home project, and that came to a close, and I got made redundant. At that point, I decided I'm going to do something I really want to do, and I decided to initially get into property. Whilst I was in property, I was working with a lot of entrepreneurs, and they introduced me to a lot of self-development books about how to have a stronger mindset and how to overcome limiting beliefs and all the things that you need to kind of set up your own business and work for yourself for the very first time. You haven't got that structure. It's all dependent on yourself. That really helped me in terms of my mindset, but I was still struggling with communication. And communication's applied everywhere. You know, when I'm trying to look for a property, to buy a property, having those communication conversations with estate agents, I was still struggling. And at the same time, it didn't feel like me getting into property was ticking my purpose, the box that really fulfilled me. And the reason I got into property because I had a difficult childhood myself. There was a lot of domestic violence, and again, that really affected my confidence, my mindset. But because of all that stuff that was happening, it really affected me in a lot of ways. So while that stuff was happening, I got into property because I thought I want to make homes, build houses for families to make them feel like they've got a home. But by me getting into property and doing properties up and renting them, I wasn't making a home for a family. A family has to make it if you're just doing a house. So I thought this is not ticking the box for me. And at the same time, during that period, so it was only like 12 months from getting made redundant until the end of that year, I got a call from my older sister saying that she's got an autoimmune disease. And I went to visit her, and the day after I visited her, and we had an amazing conversation about purpose as well. She actually went into a coma the next day, and a few weeks after that, she passed away. And that again kind of really made me think, what is my purpose in life? What am I meant to be doing? And at that point, I kind of recalled when I was a child, I used to sit on the step and I used to listen to my parents argue, and I used to watch the domestic violence, and I used to say to myself as affirmation in some way that one day I will help children in some way so they don't feel the way I do right now. And I used to repeat that to myself over and over again. And I thought, that is my purpose. That's always been my purpose, and I'm not living that. It's to help young children in some way. I didn't know how to. I've never worked with children before, but I knew this is my purpose, and this is the purpose I need to follow. So initially, I got into public speaking. So I joined Toastmasters, and the reason I joined Toastmasters was because I wanted to share the final speech, that final conversation I had with my sister to the world, to leave her legacy behind. And it's very much about purpose and living your life and making the most of every single day, because you never know what's coming. And I thought, I want to share that story. I want to share that story about my sister, but I've got no communication skills. How am I going to do my sister justice and share that message? Let's join Toastmasters and see how it goes. And I joined Toastmasters. I was very skeptical on whether it would help me, to be honest. And I sat in that first meeting shivering, just waiting for that initial question that comes around, just that introductory warm-up question. And I was shaking, and my heart was beating. And that's how nervous I used to get to speak. And it came to a point of doing my icebreaker speech, and I thought, I'm going to go straight in with my sister's speech and my icebreaker speech. And I did it, and I didn't connect with the audience at all. There's too much messaging in there. There's no real kind of one story that I went with. I just kind of blurted up my whole past out, and there's too many messages for the audience to take in. I was shivering, I was pacing back and forwards, I was looking to the ground. And after that, I thought, Jin, you're never going to be able to become a great public speaker. This is, it's a gift. Some people have it, some people don't. And you obviously haven't got this gift of public speaking and confidence. But I thought, this is my purpose and this is what I need to do. So I'm going to continue and keep practicing. So I continued at Toastmasters. And I kept on practicing my sister's speech every so often. Got lots of feedback from a lot of people at Toastmasters that are really supportive. And a year later, I entered the international speaking competition with that speech. And to my surprise, I actually won at my club level. And I kept progressing and adapting the speech and improving it. And before I knew it, I was in the finals, and I couldn't believe it. And as if magical, if it's meant to be, the finals actually fell on what would have been my sister's 42nd birthday. And I did the speech, I honoured her, and I actually came second in the whole competition, and it was an amazing experience. And that began to become the piece of the jigsaw, the first piece of the jigsaw where, okay, this is it. This is what I need to teach young people, because I was never taught this. And I wish somebody had taught me this skill, because maybe it would have helped me open up about what was happening at home to others. Maybe it would have helped me with my mindset. Maybe it would have helped in my career. Well, it would have. I'm saying maybe it would have. It would have helped in all of those areas. And I thought, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to go away and help children develop this skill of public speaking, because it's so important and it will change their lives. And I think personally, it's the most important skill that you can teach a young person, and it's not taught in schools.
Excellent. So much to unpack there, Jin. A lot of wonderful detail. It really feels like, in a real way, you had your calling from a very, very young age. You had your purpose, and a lot of sliding doors moments where things became more apparent to you, and you just dove in and took those particular opportunities. I just want to ask a couple of questions. I know I actually watched you in that final of the international speech just a few years back. When you'd done that, Jin, and shared your message with the world, how did it make you feel at that time?
After I did the speech, I felt amazing, and it felt like I felt so accomplished. I felt that I was so proud of myself, and the ultimate goal was to kind of leave my sister's legacy behind, and doing it international speaking competition, all those rounds of the competition. I've been doing that speech, so I've been able to share that message to so many people along that journey, and that was my ultimate goal. And I just felt like so fulfilled and so proud of myself, and in many ways I felt that it made me feel like anything is possible in a lot of ways. And if I could do this, and it's one of my biggest fears, public speaking, and being able to accomplish that, what else can I do? And like I say, I had a fear of heights, and I've got a fear of other things, but public speaking was my biggest fear. And once I accomplished my biggest fear, all the other fears below that became so much easier to overcome. I've actually overcome my fear of heights now, and I've done lots of challenges and things that I never thought would have done. And I believe that public speaking and learning public speaking and overcoming that fear has helped me overcome so many other fears.
So it's been a real catalyst for you in terms of, as you say, you sort of get to the pinnacle of your fears, and everything that you thought was a fear below it is actually just fallen away at the same time.
Definitely.
Well, that's excellent. Thanks so much for sharing that. So in terms of, I mean, I think you'd ask any Toastmaster or anyone that wants to be a great public speaker, and they get into the world of Toastmasters, and I say to myself, oh, we should have done that 10 years, 15 years, 20 years ago. But actually to have done it while you were of school age and to get that benefit, I suppose you can draw them parallels from your own position in life at that point, and the self-doubt and the lack of confidence and stuff. So I really want to unpack what Magical Mind coaching not only does for the children that you coach, but also what it does for you. Because I've seen you in action live, and I can see by the way you walk, by the way you talk, by the way you conduct yourself, that this is your passion, this is your calling, and you get so much from it. But just tell it, because I know there are 3 elements to Magical Mind coaching. Just want to share with everyone what those 3 parts are, because actually the speaking bit is just one part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, so after the speaking competition, I said, okay, this is my purpose, this is what I'm going to do now. At the same time, we actually went into lockdowns, and it was a period of COVID. So I just started, and we just went into lockdown, and I thought, okay, I'd done 1 class in a school, but I hadn't had the opportunity to get it really going. And at that point, I thought everything's just against me, but I thought, no, I'm going to keep going. And I think once you know your purpose, you'll just keep going. There is no plan B. So I thought, okay, I'm going to keep going. And what I'll do is I need to get my coaching hours in. I need to do as many public speaking classes as I can, and I'll continue to do that. So let's go online. So I went online initially during that lockdown period, and I just taught public speaking to as many children as I could. So I offered it for free. I went online and I said, I'm a public speaking coach. I'm doing this for free for children. Anybody want to join? And I was quite surprised, because I got a lot of people from the UK, but then I also started to get contacted by people all across the world, Nepal and various other places. And I was doing these public speaking coaches online during lockdown to so many different children. At the same time, I was developing the skill. Like I said, I've never worked with children before this. I've never coached before this. And I was developing all these skills, and I was practicing, getting my material out there, adapting it and changing it. And I thought, okay, I've got something now, and it's working. And as we came out of lockdown, I decided to set myself up as a social enterprise or non-for-profit organisation with the purpose of helping young people develop their public speaking skills. And I had some funding. It wasn't a massive pot, but I had some funding, and I put it out there. I got free public speaking class for young people. 20 young people signed up for my first class, and I thought, amazing. Got the venue set up, and I turned up at the class on the day, and only 5 children turned up. And I thought, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? Everything's against me. Because again, I've got these limiting beliefs and all these things that from my past that I had to deal with. And I thought, okay, I just need to go back to the parents and find out what's happened. Why have they signed their children up, and why have they not turned up on the day when I'm offering something for free and with so much value? And went back to the parents and said, look, our children, we can see the value of this. We can see the value of teaching them public speaking, but you've created a program, and I call the program Magical Speaking. You've created a program called Magical Speaking, and it's a public speaking class. We can see the benefit, but you're trying to get this program out to some of the kids that are most scared about public speaking. They've got a lot of anxiety around it. So can you imagine how they felt on the day when we told them you're going to attend a public speaking class? They got scared. They said, no, I am not going to that class. No matter what, I am not going to a public speaking class. It's scary. And I thought, yeah, I get it, because if somebody had asked me at a young age and told me, or my parents said to me, you're going to a public speaking class, I would have done the same. I'd have said, I'm not going to that. So I thought, I need to do something differently. I need a hook. I need a hook that brings them in to my classes, and then I teach them public speaking, because initially they're not going to see the value in public speaking, and secondly, it's scary. And if you're scared of public speaking, you're not going to go to that class. So I thought, okay, this what I'm creating. I want it to be all about me and who I am as a person and what's helped me in my life. So at about 13, 14 years old, I actually joined a boxing class. So my uncle who introduced me to the boxing class, and he goes, come along to a boxing class and it will really help you. And I attended this boxing class, and it changed my life at that point, because at that point, you can imagine I was the oldest son. I had two sisters. I had an older sister and a younger sister. And I felt it was my responsibility to be able to protect my family from what was happening, the domestic violence and everything else. And not being able to do that, and having this fear of my dad and just walking into the room and just raising his voice or being around me just really scared me and filled me with anxiety. And I thought, okay, that I'm so scared of this that when this boxing class, it really helped me, because it made me start to begin to believe in myself again. Mm-hmm. And I thought, okay, this is what I need to introduce. I'm going to add boxing as one of the elements. That'll be the hook. That'll be the thing that brings him into my class in the first place. So I created a program called Best Version of Me. At the same time, I was doing a PT course just to make sure I'm qualified as a personal trainer and everything else. And whilst I was in that class, they said that the World Health Organization defines health as not merely the absence of disease or infirmity, but also physical, mental, and social well-being. Yes. And I thought, I'm creating something here now that helps people with their physical through boxing, and I'm helping them do something for their speaking, social skills, which is their social health. But I'm missing something here instead of the mental health. And I've been reading so many books that have helped me when I when I got made redundant, that have helped me understand how to overcome limiting beliefs, the importance of forgiveness. So forgiving my dad to help me to move on in my own life. And it's taught me all these skills that I could help children with, because there's not these books are readily available, self-development readily available for young people. So I'm going to bring this element in. So I created a program called Best Version of Me. First half an hour is boxercise. The second half an hour, I used to stand up and teach children about limiting beliefs, about how to have a positive mindset and all these things. And then I used to go into public speaking. And it was a good program, but I've adapted it over the years to create something even better. So as we've moved on, it's now called Voice Box. The voice being the public speaking, the box being the boxing, and it relates Voice Box to speaking itself. So it's a voice box now, and it's still an hour and a half, but it's changed, because what I noticed that I was doing the boxing, then I'd lose them in the mindset part, because I'm just standing there talking to them again like they've been at school and they don't want to be talked to again. And then the public speaking, I'm getting them to do impromptu speeches or speeches straight away, which is a bit too much for them at this moment in time. So now it's boxercise, a team game, and in that team game, I'm walking around coaching. Okay, you failed today. Failure is not a bad thing. Failure can teach you many lessons, and I'm just dripping these bits of feedback and coaching while I'm doing that team game with them. I also do things like dominoes. I'll get them to create a massive domino trail around the room and work as a team. And that's an amazing game, because I teach them about, you got to strategize. You're all running in to play these dominoes, set all these dominoes up, but you're not thinking about how to create these dominoes. You're not working as a team. You're not communicating to each other. When the dominoes fall, you're getting frustrated, but that's like life. You're going to fall down. Sometimes you're going to have to pick yourself back up. So there's so many lessons that I kind of drop into there. So they do that. And then when we come to the speaking side, it's let's break it down. So it's body language. So we're going to play charades, and you're going to play charades, and it's going to be a team game, team A against team B. And who can say the most charades in 30 seconds from a card. And because it's engaging, because they're having fun, because they're competing against each other, they're no longer thinking I'm public speaking. They're thinking, oh, I'm playing a game and I'm competing, so this is fun. So, but what they're really doing is practicing body language. And then there's a game called The Voice, which I created myself because I couldn't really find a game that helps with vocal variety. So I created a game called The Voice, which is all about saying things in different ways, and the audience have to guess. So the audience have all got their chairs turned, so they can't see the speaker, so that they can't see any body language at all. They can only hear the voice, and through the voice, they have to say things, and I've got the emotion underneath. So it might say that it's snowing outside, and the emotion is anger. So then they have to say, it's snowing outside.
Yeah.
And then it might be another one that says it's snowing outside and you're happy about it because you're getting the day off school, for example. Oh, it's snowing outside. And the audience have to guess, was that person angry? Was that person happy? And they'll get a point for their team, depending on whether they've guessed the emotion. And I do things like disgust, shame, embarrassment. So it gets a bit more difficult. And they have to, like, say, for example, you might be some kind of food, and it might be disgusted. They're disgusted by that food, or they love that food. So they'll play that, and then we'll finally, as the weeks progress, then we'll go into words, and words will be the no ums and ers game. There's a game called no ums and ers where you have to speak without saying any ums and ers and no filler words, and then I will introduce a card. So I might give them a scenario. So can you tell me a time where you went to the dentist and you really, and then as they're talking about their time going to the dentist, I'm introducing random cards. So it might say cat or dog, or and as they're talking about that, they have to introduce the word dog or cat in there without saying and at the same time. So yeah, that really helps them get rid of those ums and ers and think on the spot. Once I've got to that stage, then it's impromptu speaking, and we'll start off with it being very short. So if you can get to 30 seconds, you get a point for your team. As they progress, then it might be 1 minute, 1 minute and a half, 2 minutes. Once I get to that stage, then it's the next level is I want you to start creating a speech of your own. So tell me about something that really inspires you. What is something that you could share to the audience that's going to inspire them too? And they'll go away, and every single student, strangely, they'll all have a different topic. You came to the speaking competition. They chose their topics. It wasn't me that asked them to choose their topics. That all each chosen their topic, but every single topic was different. From football to plastic pollution to asthma. There's so many different topics on there, and the children will present their speeches, and it'll be week by week. So they'll come to me with their hook, and they'll deliver their hook. Then they'll come to me with the middle part of their speech, and we'll use a rule of three to say, the key points, and then it's that key takeaway, that call to action at the end, and they'll practice it in stages of the weeks. And when I feel they're ready, then they'll go into our speaking competition. So they'll move from not only presenting in front of their class, their group, to now standing on stage and presenting in front of their family and friends. And I think at the last event, we had about 70 people in the audience. Mm-hmm. So, children standing in front of 70 people in the audience and doing a 2 to 3 minute speech. It's that journey, taking them on that journey from that very first time they came to my club and couldn't even say a few words to speaking on stage for 2 to 3 minutes. And when they come off that stage, how proud they feel of themselves is next another level, because they know they've accomplished something that they like me and like any other speaker thought they could never accomplish. Some of those children, the youngest was 7 at the event, and the oldest, I think, there was about 14, 15. But that 7-year-old just coming on and speaking with so much confidence as he walked onto stage was amazing. And yet, for me personally, yes, it just feels like I'm fulfilling my purpose. Every time I see a child stand on stage and speak, it's scary for me. I don't sleep the night before because I don't want to be that person that one day they say, "Oh, I remember Ginat well. he made me go on stage, and it was the scariest thing ever, and I never spoke again. So
Yeah.
I don't want to be that person.
Or maybe we'll talk about that a little later, because we had a bit of an episode, didn't we, at one of your events? But the way you dealt with it was absolutely exemplary. I just want to, I know, again, a lot to unpack from that smart answer there, Jim. But to me, what spoke out was fun, innovation, and interactive, and being interactive rather. So I love the way that, you know, if you'd have sat down from day one and designed this program, it probably wouldn't have worked. But you saw and identified what was working, what wasn't working. You brought it in with the social and fitness aspects. You made it fun and engaging, which we all know is the best environment in which to learn. We all learn best when we're sort of having fun. But those those innovative elements of making it interesting and almost gamified in a way had tremendous results by the sound of it in terms of getting people on board. So you started with a group of 20, which was actually just 5. What's it sort of grown into now over the last few years?
So now I'm running the classes across 5 different locations. So I run my classes in the most deprived areas of Wolverhampton, and I'll go into that community. So it'll be in the community centre in that location. So It's easy for children to walk and get there. So now I'm at 5 classes, and I have approximately about 15 children per class. So it has grown, and I'm seeing amazing results. Some of the children have been with me for years. Some are quite new. They're all age between that 7 to kind of 15-year-old group. And again, a lot of them are those children that really struggle to say a few words when they begin. They'll just get a couple of words that they're really shy and nervous, and by the end of it, 2 to 3 minute speeches on stage, and it's, to stand there on stage on themselves and speak. It takes so much bravery, and they all do it. They all get through it. Even though I am so nervous the night before, I know it all works. I believe in the program, and it does. It all work together. And the way I kind of see it, and the way I've kind of over the years, how I picture it in my own mind, is why I think it's such a great program, is because I believe life comes down to opportunities. And if you don't believe in yourself, so mindset first. If you don't believe in yourself, you don't believe that there's opportunities anywhere, you will not see them. And people talk about that, that game, find the red car, and all of a sudden you see red cars everywhere. But before that, you think, oh, there's no red cars anywhere. And it's the same with opportunity. As soon as you say to yourself, I believe there are opportunities around me. We live in a world of abundance, there are opportunities. And I believe I am worthy. If the opportunity comes along, I am worthy of the opportunity. Then you'll grasp hold of those opportunities. And all that coaching I do around limiting beliefs, believing in yourself, that will help these young people see those opportunities and believe they're worthy. But once you grasp hold of an opportunity, you've got the option then to do nothing with it or do something with it. And the thing that's going to help you do something with it is taking action. And the things that you learn through sports are so invaluable, because you're going to lose in sports. You have to be dedicated, you have to be motivated, you're going to have to work hard. All these things are the same things that you need to take an opportunity and make it work and really take it to another level. And this is all from my own life, and I've seen this in my own life. So I've seen the opportunity, I believe in it, I've taken it, I'm taking some action, I'm doing something with it. But then you'll stop. You won't get any further unless you've got great social skills, because at that point you need to get people to believe in you. You'll only go so far along, you'll go so much further with others, and that's so true. So it's that social aspect that will then help them share their vision, speak to people, talk about what they do, like I'm doing now, talking about my work and getting people to believe in me. That's what they'll do. They'll share their vision, share what they do, and then people will start supporting them. They'll become their followers. And once you've got followers and people believe in you, you can take your business to a whole new level. And that's why I think why I think the whole program works so brilliantly, because it's got every single element that'll help a child take an opportunity and do something really with it. You can be the most knowledgeable person in the world and not have great communication skills or not the right mindset. And we've all seen it. And I've worked in the corporate world for a long time. Like I said, I was there for 14 years, and I saw myself sitting at that desk with the right idea, with the right idea to take this that I could share with the group, and I just didn't share it, so people didn't see me. But there'll be somebody else that I might have spoken to one-to-one that I'd share my idea to the group, and the managers would go, wow, that's an amazing idea, and they'll get the promotions and get everything else, and you kind of just don't get seen. And that's the lack of social skills or lack of belief within yourself. So it's so important.
Excellent. And actually, the last point you mentioned there is so valuable, isn't it? That you become visible. when you've got a voice. You sort of speak things into existence. But one of the things I just wanted to touch on there, and I think it sort of goes through everything that you do. It's all about a sense of community, isn't it? In a sense, I mean, we're all social creatures as humans, and as you pointed out at the start, communication is one of those skills that isn't widely practiced, or people aren't particularly articulate with. But the skills that you're giving to these, I'll call them young people in a sense, have been transformational. I just wonder, Jin, whether you vicariously live through the eyes of some of your star pupils and people, to think that could have been me when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, but I'm really glad that someone else is going through this program and getting all these particular benefits. So there must be an immense sense of pride from some of the results you get from these children. Is there anything you can share about what they've gone on to do, or how they've felt about themselves, or even maybe some of the feedback you've got from parents on their progress?
Yeah, so outside of my classes, I'm getting some amazing results as well. So I'll get a lot of young people come back to me, and they'll say they're getting distinctions in their English exams at school, which is amazing. And they're doing they're making more friendships. So another key thing that people always see, even a lot of people, even adults, will see public speaking as the skill you need to speak on stage, and that's it. Public speaking, I always say to the young children in my class, public speaking is speaking in public. So a one-to-one conversation is public speaking. Group conversation is public speaking. Networking is public speaking. Having a conversation with your friends, your partner, is public speaking. And unless you're able to communicate and engage the person that you're speaking to, it's very difficult to get your point across, and also listening skills as well, to listen to their point of view. And I say this is so important, and you see the change of all those children in terms of making friendships as well. And there's also one young girl, she came second at the public speaking competition in the first round, and she won this time round. She was actually spotted in the first competition by somebody in the audience that knew somebody that works for Fair Trade Wolverhampton, and they spotted her, and he came across to me at the end of the session. He goes, she just did a speech about child labour and fair trade, and we love that speech, and we think it'd be great because we've got the 21st anniversary of fair trade coming up. It's going to be in front of all the councillors and the mayor of Wolverhampton. Can she come along and do that same speech? And so I spoke to her and her parents, and obviously her first kind of natural thing was to say, oh, that sounds scary. I've done it in front of this group, now I'm going to speak in front of all the councillors and the mayor of Wolverhampton. But she agreed to do it. And the day came, and we walked in, and she's quite nervous. And then they said to us, she's the main speaker. she's the one that's going to do the final and the closing of the whole meeting. So they had all these other schools singing, and they had other schools playing music. And then she came right at the end, and she did a 3-minute speech on fair trade, and everybody stood up and clapped. And the mayor of Wolverhampton joked, she goes, your speech is better than most politicians do. And it's just amazing. And her confidence has just gone on another level. Like I say, that was just before the second competition, and she came and won it the next time. So yeah, I'm getting amazing results. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get to a point where it's not just about my class and helping with my class. I'm going to get these children's voices out there, and I want to get them to as many events and get them speaking in different places, so they can share their voice. It can help them in the future in terms of interviews and progression. They can say, no, that 12-year-old girl that spoke in front of the mayor of Wolverhampton. Imagine, as she gets asked when she's older, can you tell us something that you've done in life that was amazing? Oh, when I was 12 years old, I spoke in front of the mayor of Wolverhampton on fair trade. It's amazing. And she's going to go on to so much more amazing things than that, and I know she is. So yeah, it's great, and I'm getting great results from all the children.
Excellent. We spoke earlier about the way you develop your session. I was really keen and interested on the sort of physical side of it, with the boxing and the more social aspects, the game playing and stuff. So you've got that perfect triad, if you like, of getting people engaged and involved. Is there anything else you're going to add to the program? Do you see a next evolution of what you're going to be doing at all?
I think at this moment in time, I think it's the way it works is amazing, and then we're getting the great results. I could, and I've had thought about it in the past, is maybe talking about other things that aren't taught in schools, like finance, how to manage your money and everything else.
Investing.
Yeah. You're not taught these skills, but I don't want to dilute what I've got, and adding too much in might take away from that a bit. I see it really working now, and I'm seeing the results. And one thing I may do, and which I'm looking to possibly do, is to bring inspirational speakers from the world into my classes. So people like me who have got a story of resilience and how they overcame that, bringing them into my classes to inspire the children. So I've got one person that I spoke to. He's also a TEDx speaker. His name's Paz, and he makes cakes. So he's been making cakes for a long time as a young guy. But he also, at the beginning, people used to laugh at him as a man making cakes and said, "Oh, so what was something that women should do?" And all those things. But he continued, and he's actually made cakes for Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mayweather, and so many people, and he's gone on to do amazing things. And I thought, can you please come to one of my classes and share that story? It's that story of people telling you can't do certain things in life, or it's not the right thing for you, but keep going and you can do amazing things. He's going to come along to one of my classes, and getting those inspirational people into my classes is really going to inspire the children, but very much keep it to helping young people with their public speaking skills. That's my niche. That's the thing I really want to work on. There's other programs that do that, and maybe referring them onto there are other CICs that help with children learn finance and other things. But this is sometimes you can do too much, and it kind of just and that's another thing that I've learned over the years with doing my classes. It can just take away from you in the end. So I know what my thing is. My thing is helping children with public speaking, and this is how I get them on stage and how it works. And I think I need to stay focused on that and not going into too many different directions.
Yeah, keep the core, as it were.
Yeah,
and then
definitely.
You augmented it with those other things to make it interesting and interactive to get people sort of well versed in all of this. So that sounds like a really good lead into all of that. But I just want to swing back a little bit into the world of Toastmasters. You mentioned earlier about the real reason for joining was to share your sister's story. But how much of what you learned in the journey you went through Toastmasters, because clearly you'd had the sort of North Star of what you wanted to do and where you wanted to go. How much did Toastmasters help you with that? And, can you just share with us the sort of things you learned and the fears that you've overcome and the way it's helped propel you move forward?
Yeah, so before I joined Toastmasters, I really found it difficult just to have conversation with people and for people to understand me. And I really hated the sound of my own voice. So if anybody ever recorded me or I watched myself speak back, I used to really disliked it. And now I'm at the stage where I'm doing this regularly and I'm doing this and I do videos for my social media and I listen to myself back and I'm actually like, oh, I like the way I sound. So it's changed a lot. And I never thought I'd be able to do that. And like, even with my wife, we used to have conversations and she used to say, "Jim, repeat yourself, you're speaking too fast or you're mumbling. I can't really understand what you're saying." And so I couldn't even have a conversation with my wife properly before Toastmasters, and I've been able to have better conversations with her. And sometimes when you can't get your point across in an eloquent way and the way you want to get it across, you can get frustrated and you can get annoyed with yourself and you can come across annoyed. And eventually you kind of lose. If you do get annoyed in a conversation or you lose your temper, you've kind of lost the battle in many ways. You might have had a good point, but because you got frustrated and you're not getting your point across clearly, you end up getting frustrated and now you just like shouting or you're just annoyed. So, but when you learn public speaking skills and you can speak clearly and get your point across in a way that you want to, people will listen a bit more. And you'll feel better about yourself that, I've got a good point and I've made it and that person's understood. So it changes so many different things. It's not just standing on stage, it's so much more than that. And another thing, I used to drink a lot because from a young age, I was always quiet. Kids never used to I used to go to school and I used to get ignored and I never used to have any friends. I used to feel quite lonely. And when I got to secondary school, a lot of young people started to kind of start drinking and do other things and kind of experiment with those kind of things. And I stayed away from it for a long time because my dad was an alcoholic and seen all the domestic violence. But then I think there's one point where I had a particular bad incident at home that I went out and with some friends and I had a drink with them. And that fake confidence came where, I was joking around and saying things. And people, all my friends used to say, "Oh, you're more funny when you have a drink. You're boring when you don't have a drink." And that stuck with me. That really stuck with me. And for me, I thought I need a drink when I go to a social occasion. I cannot go to a social occasion because everybody's going to think I'm bored unless I have a drink. But now, because I'm able to communicate and talk, I don't need a drink when I go out and socialise. I feel I'm able to do that anyway without it. So it's changed so much in so many different ways I would have never expected. And it's made me feel so much more confident about myself. You know, I wouldn't have been able to create this organisation without any of this. Public speaking was the key thing, and still it's a key thing for what I want to teach. Yes, I do box exercise. Yes, I do mindset. But for me, I'm a public speaking coach for young people, and this is the tools and techniques that I use to get in there and speaking on stage. But it does. That's why I'm so passionate about it, because I know it's not all these things that you can do for a child. You know, if they're having an argument with somebody, or a disagreement, not an argument, a disagreement. So they've got a disagreement with a child in another playground, and it ends up in a fight because they can't communicate properly or they can't get their message across properly. What if it stops them getting into knife crime, stops them getting into gangs because they're confident enough to speak, stops them from drinking, stops them from experimenting with things because they're able to communicate? What if they've got problems at home and they go to a teacher and talk to them because they're learning how to express themselves and talk properly? It's not just standing on stage. It's so much more than that.
Indeed. And I think one of the most important things you've said during the course of our conversation, because it certainly resonated with me, you know, you can have an idea, but unless you take action, you're never going to get change. And you spoke before about how difficult all this was. Can you just share a sense with us about, you know, some of the things you thought were really difficult that you thought you couldn't do to move your business forward, that you actually did because you knew you had to do it, because without doing that, you wouldn't be where you are today, sort of thing?
Yeah, so initially when I set my social enterprise up, I always felt that funding would be a challenge, getting the funding. But people have really brought into the concept, and funders really understand the concept of physical, mental, social well-being and this holistic approach. So that's a big obstacle I've overcome. The next obstacle I thought that would never be an obstacle was getting children into classes. So you've got 3 programs, you've got the funding, and it's got the hook of boxing. But even still, it's been a challenge at times to get young people into classes. And what I've found is speaking to parents is that, and other clubs, other people that are offering programs for young people, that it's getting more and more difficult. And the reason being is children are just on their gadgets, gaming and other things, that coming home from school, and it's hard to get them to go and do an activity. If you look at the statistics, I know the statistics for Wolverhampton, but I know it's across the UK. Mental health illnesses amongst young people is continuously increasing. Physical activity, so inactivity amongst young people is another problem. So more and more kids are inactive, and they're having problems with children being obese in year 6. And the other thing that what they're finding is loneliness. So loneliness amongst young people was never talked about before. It used to be a thing that they used to talk about amongst the elderly. But now loneliness amongst teenagers and young people is increasing all the time because they're losing that ability to communicate. They're on the devices, they're gaming, they're not having conversations, deeper conversations, asking each other, how are you? And that's, again, not being asked, how are you, is going to, and having those conversations is going to affect their mental health as well. And the gaming world, I never understood properly until I've done a bit of one-to-one coaching as well with some young children. And a parent said, can you help my child because they won't stop gaming? Can you support them? And I had this conversation with this child until I understood that world that they live in. I wasn't able to support him because at the first I was like, yeah, why are you gaming? Why can you not just do it a bit less? And he goes, basically, that is my social network now. So when I come back from school, we all get onto our game. We put headsets on. We might have a conversation about the game, but nothing else. But if I don't turn up, all my friends have moved on to the next level. They've got new weapons, other things, and I'm not part of that social network anymore. I've been thrown out because I'm not in the same game. I'm not on the same level. So I have to stay in there. And we have to stay at the same level because that's my social network. And I thought, wow, how do you pull a child away from that without them falling out and not falling from that social network that they've created? And the only way he's getting all their friends to come to my class and say, okay, get them all to come and bring a friend along, and all of you get off it because that's their their thing, and you think give them other things to do. But yeah, that was a challenge. That's something I've had to overcome. Really incentivize the children to bring a friend along. So, so I like to say, bring a friend along, and I'll give you a reward. So next class, bring a friend along, and I'll give you a personal reward for every child that you bring, every friend that you bring to my class. So there's been those challenges along the way, and it's just always overcoming them and always thinking of ways how to adapt it, and helping parents understand the importance of public speaking. That's a challenge in itself again, because again, because we're part of Toastmasters now, and a lot have been a part of Toastmasters. But if we think back before we joined Toastmasters, and maybe before that, like many of us wouldn't have realised the benefits of public speaking until we joined, and some of us might have joined just to say, let's just see how it goes. It may help, but I doubt it, which I did.
And yeah, you were skeptical. Yeah,
I was skeptical. I was very skeptical, and the parents are the same, but then they don't realise that all that other stuff about how it helps your friendships, helps your relationships, helps your job interviews. And I'm very much on my social media now, always getting that across. Public speaking is speaking in public. It's that one-to-one conversation, and it's going to help your child grow in so much confidence, and that boosting confidence is going to help them believe in themselves. And there's so many other things they can do in life, but that skill of learning public speaking, I think the boost it gives you in confidence is more than a lot of things things out there that are unable to compete with that confidence boost that it gives to children and adults.
Excellent. And just switching the tables a little bit, you talked about, kids being on the phones and stuff, maybe into gaming and maybe across social media and stuff. But I know that social media is a good platform for yourself. I regularly see your content across Facebook and LinkedIn. You've probably got other channels that I don't actually frequent. But what I'd say about the content you put out there, Gin, a lot of it's very video-based, short, sharp examples and stuff, really punchy posts. What sort of impact does that make to the way you run your business right now?
Yeah, again, lesson I've learned myself. So when I first started, I used to do a lot of, and that might have been again a bit nervousness around myself from going on social media and doing videos. But at the beginning, it was just pictures, images, promoting the class. But that doesn't really get across the real passion that I have about this, and why I think public speaking is important. And a lot of people, again, they're getting busier. And life is getting busy. They just want to go on, watch a quick video and learn something from that. And I think that's more engaging. And really, it's about people getting the parents to believe in me as a person, and believe. And it's a lot of trust, leaving your child with somebody to coach and believe. And there's so much other stuff out there for kids to do, and after school clubs. I know a lot of them gaming, but it's really getting the parent. I need the parent to push their child to bring them to my class. And they have to believe that they're going to have that battle themselves first. With
and they need to and they need to be the child's champion as well, don't they? And be their sponsor and have their corner and everything. I think one thing I just want to ask you about. I mean, you kindly invited me to be a judge at one of your contests you held quite recently in Wolverhampton, and amazing array of speakers of all ages there. And some very fitting winners. But certainly the thing that stood out for me, probably the person that learnt more than anybody else that day, even the winner, was that young lad that actually froze on stage, if you recall. And we've all been there. And I think, as you said earlier on, if you have a really terrible experience when you're young, then it can put you off for life. But what I saw in that moment, Gin, from you was clearly some amazing coaching, but there was a huge pause. You went up and had a quiet word, and then he carried on almost without missing a beat. But it was so vitally important that he finished what he needed to say, because otherwise perhaps he wouldn't have come back. He'd have had all these limiting beliefs like you mentioned before. But the very fact he finished it, I think personally he learnt more than anyone else that day about overcoming that fear and really doing it. And I just wanted to call that out as what I saw as a really impressive piece of coaching and encouragement, and just proves the fact that your program works. But that was a real standout moment for myself, witnessing that. Yeah,
it was. I was nervous for him. He's been with me for about 2 years, but he's really struggled with his confidence. Yeah. And he came across to me and he said, "I'm going to do it this time, Gin." Because I never push the children. I always say,
you ask,
when I feel they're ready, I'll ask them and ask them to do it, but I'll never push them because I don't want to push them too far at the comfort zone where it puts them off public speaking altogether. But he came to me and said, "Look, I'm ready now, and I'm going to do this for you." And I thought that's nice. And he goes, "I want to talk about magical mind coaching, how it's helped me." And I go, "Okay, great." We practiced, and he did really well in rehearsals. And on the day, he started off great, and then I think he just lost his way a little bit.
Yeah.
And then he did his first instincts was to just walk off stage, and that's what he really wanted to do. And then he spoke to me when we had that conversation, and the thing that really got me was he said, "Gene, I've let my mom down." And I was nearly in tears, all of us in tears, because it just reminded me of my childhood and me always not wanting to let my mom down with stuff that was happening at home. And I said, "Look, you're not letting your mom down. You standing up here and doing this in the first place, you're making your mom proud. And I want you to make yourself proud as well by just finishing this speech." I've taken a big deep breath. The audience is behind you, and it's amazing because everybody in the audience says, "Come on, you can do it as well." And they gave me some encouragement. And he thought, "Okay, I'm going to do it, Jin." And he did it, and he felt so great. And I actually saw him today. So before I came here, I was running a class, and he's in that class.
Excellent.
And I spoke to him, and I said, "How are you feeling about doing another speech?" And he goes, "Gee, I want to do another one." So it shows that, and some of the other children in the class, the first thing they said to me, and a lot of these children, when I first asked them about public speaking and talking about public speaking, said, "I don't want to do that. I don't really like that. I don't. It's boring or it's scary." Those children that spoke on the stage that day, 100% of them are coming to me now and going, "Jim, when's the next one? I want to do the next one. I can't wait," because they actually loved it and they loved the experience. And it is that feeling of self-worth and self-confidence that they get. It makes them feel so good that they're just ready to speak again straight away. So yeah, it was nice, and it was nice that he finished it. And I'm glad he did. It was an amazing experience.
And how does all that make you feel at the end of the day?
It's good. It feels like I say they're helping me as much as I'm helping them. And I always say this: your pain is your purpose. Say healed people heal people. So I was healed, and they're healing me at the same time. So healed people heal people, but those people that are getting healed are healing me as well, in many ways, because me seeing them grow is helping me, making me feel good about myself, making me feel like, I went through stuff as a child, but maybe if I didn't go, not maybe, if I hadn't gone through all that stuff, haven't gone through all that diversity, I wouldn't be where I am now, doing what I do now. So sometimes, stuff happens in your life, and people sometimes say everything happens for a reason. I don't quite like that terminology because I don't like to think that, my sister passed away for a reason, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Of course.
Or my mom went through domestic violence, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. But the way I phrase it in my own mind is everything happens or bad things happen, but it's up to you to use those to make a positive reason for those happening. And if you can do that, then you can make a massive change to this world. And everybody's got something. Everybody's had something in their life. What is that pain? What is that thing that you've gone through that you can use now to be your purpose to make this world a better place?
Excellent, thanks. We're just coming to the close in just a few moments, Jin. But before we do that, do you maybe just want to share with the audience how they can get in touch with you or where they can find you?
Yeah, so I'm based in Wolverhampton, so I run my classes across Wolverhampton in the evenings, so children can access it. But I also do programs in schools. So if you've got a local school in the West Midlands that'll be interested in me coming in and doing my public speaking program, so I do a 12-week program, taking them along that journey, which includes the exercise, the mindset, and the speaking. But I also do a program specifically just focused on public speaking and taking them along the journey of public speaking as well. If some school can't do the exercise part. So yeah, I do those programs, and if you're local, and one-to-one coaching as well. I offer one-to-one coaching for young people as well. So there's a lot of different options, and speak to me. There might be something that you may think, okay, I want Jim to help with or support with. Always happy to collaborate and work with other people, and I think that's the best way to get your support out there to as many people as you can.
Cool. And do you just want to remind everyone your web address where they can find you online?
Yeah, so the organisation's Magical Mind Coaching. The easiest way to find me is just go into Google and type Magical Mind Coaching, and then you'll get a list of LinkedIn, Instagram, my website. and various other things. So I'm on all social media platforms, as well as my website that you can find me on as well.
Cool, thanks. I'm going to come back in just a moment, Jinx. I want to leave the final words for yourself, but I just want to finish up by saying big thanks to everyone out there who's joined us this evening across YouTube, I think, and LinkedIn, and possibly some other social media platforms. I also want to give a big shout out and thanks to Olga Byrne, who's been our series producer, sitting quietly and professionally in the background, making all of these episodes a real resounding success. No doubt there's going to be in the outtake trailer what's coming up next, and it's a wonderful series, getting great Toastmasters on like Jin just to share their stories. So thank you, Olga, for that. But what I'd love really to do at this point, Jin, you've been a wonderful guest tonight. Thank you so much for sharing your story, your passion, your why, and all those other wonderful things. If you could just melt down maybe the last hour of conversation into one or two short sentences about what you want people to take away from what they've learned about you, what might you say to them?
I'd say always strive to fulfill your purpose in some way if you can. It is self-fulfilling, and again, often your pain is your purpose. So sometimes writing down all the experiences that you've been through for life will help you pick out those points and then think to yourself, how can I use those? Another thing, we're all, the group here, Toastmasters members, is that my vision is to get public speaking in schools. I think it's so important. And if we can all join together and kind of get that message out that, the government needs to change curriculum in some kind of way to get public speaking properly in the curriculums and get public speaking in every single school, I think it's so important. And if we can all do that together, and if there's anybody else out here that has that ability to go into their own school to teach public speaking skills, do it. Because if we can get it out and we can get young people learning this skill at a young age, it's going to make so much of a difference. Young people, like I said, they're losing that art of communication. It's getting worse because they're on the gadgets, and it's going to come to a point where they can't communicate. We need to get out there together to get into schools, get this taught properly on the curriculum. It's not just asking a child to read a book or have a book in class. That's not public speaking. That's what a lot of schools think it is. It's not. It's teaching them skills and teaching them and making them understand where this fear comes from and how to overcome this fear, which is also important. So let's get together. Let's all of us trying to get this message out. If you can go into school and teach these skills that you've learned in your local school, do it, because it's like I say, it's a skill that's so important. And a lot of employers are saying now, and another piece of research out there is that a lot of people are finishing schools, universities, and coming into the workplace, and they're unable to communicate. They're finding it as one of the most important skills that they're looking for right now. So it'll give them an advantage. And I always say it's a superpower. If you teach public speaking to a child, you're giving them a real life superpower. So I'll bring my final message to you all. Go out there and teach public speaking to as many children as you can. You've got this skill now, and that's the thing that you can go out and help change this world, give these children a voice.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate your time here this evening. Apologies, folks. We started a few minutes late, but it was really all worth this fantastic episode. Please do look out for episode 80. But Jin, thanks so much, and we'll all catch you at the next one. Cheers.
Bye-bye.